In the last 2 years, we've grown about 1,100%.
Today, I just want to welcome Morgan from Vets on Call. Well, welcome, Morgan. It's really good to have you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Well, let's dive in. I'm interested. Tell us your story. Tell us about your business. What's happening for you?
Yeah, there's quite a lot happening at the moment. So Vets on Call has taken off. Vets on Call, for those that don't know, is a technology platform that delivers clinic quality veterinary service right to your home. So we bring the vet to you, and we do it for the same price as going to the clinic. In the last 2 years, we've grown about 1,100%, and it's been a pretty intense journey, I would say. There's a lot that comes with that, like in terms of growing pains and, how do you keep that kind of growth up and also support that from the back end fulfillment side of things. So, and also working in healthcare, there's a lot of other challenges that, other tech businesses wouldn't have to have. So it's been a lot of fun, certainly, but there's been a lot of challenges along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can imagine because growing that fast is it's tough. It's and it requires a lot of you. So I'm curious, how did you scale? Like, because you've scaled through multiple states, even through Victoria's lockdown, which has been, as we've seen on the news, really severe. So how did you scale through some of the chaos?
To be honest, that was a really difficult because whilst we are a tech company and we can scale really quickly, like comparative to a traditional bricks and mortar clinic, one of the challenges is we are still localized in that, like when I want to launch into Brisbane, I have to go and recruit vets in Brisbane, set up our all our sort of clinical networks and those sorts of like infrastructure, I would call it. And to do that remotely is difficult when I think the biggest sort of challenge that we had is that, for Vets on Call, it's a really different way for vets to work. They're used to, this is your job. You go into this clinic, you work from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. or whatever it is, and then you leave, you go home. Whereas we're saying like, you can have flexible hours, you choose where you work, like in terms of your working radius, and you're delivering these services in home. And that's kind of a barrier in terms of vets going, but that's not how I usually do things. So you have to build that relationship with the vets before they'll sign on. And that's been probably the hardest part, to do that via Zoom. We all had to do it via Zoom, basically. So all like our interviews and the vetting of vets all had to happen through Zoom, and that building relationships. So, fortunately, we've been doing it for a while down in Victoria. And, I think that people are really understanding with the sort of circumstances. But we were just, fortunate that we found a group of vets that were willing to give us a chance, and that what got the ball rolling interstate. And to their credit, they're the reason that we've got the momentum and the traction that we've got up there.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really good. And like, who do you approach? Like, is it existing vets? Is it aspiring vets? Is it, yeah, like I'm curious, like who signs on to be a home vet?
Yeah, it's existing vets, mate.
That's good.
We can't send out somebody that just really wants to be a vet and loves animals. So to work with Vets on Call, you have to be a vet. But I think, in terms of the kind of people that are really attracted to what we offer, it's people that, working mums that need more flexibility, or working parents, people that are burnt out from the clinic, because clinics can be really tough. It's a really stressful working environment, and there's not a lot of flexibility in terms of working arrangements there because it is such a rigid kind of model. And so people that really love being a vet, they love treating animals, but they just can't continue with, a lack of work-life balance and 16-hour days of intensely stressful work. So the Vets on Call model is, it's really flexible. They earn great money through Vets on Call, and they're able to build that work-life balance that they want and keep doing what they love.
That's great. So you're providing value for the team as well as actually providing additional value for the client.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're trying to do something disruptive, which is what we're doing, I mean, we're changing the way that vet services are acquired and delivered, and changing the way that people take care of their pets. And if you're going to do that, you need to make it a very attractive proposition for both the pet owner, as well as those that are providing the services.
Mm. And so what have been your points of inflection as a business?
It's a good question. So I think after we launched our the app that we have in the market now, so we started with a really select or small group of Melbourne suburbs where we tested our beta version of the app. The inflection point was so we used that in the market for about 12 months where we're proving our product fit, we're proving our product concept, and getting learnings from both the pet owners and the vets themselves. Then we built out the app that you see in the market now, and almost overnight we saw a 30% increase in sales or bookings. We saw our revenue increase, almost double actually per booking.
Great.
And that was one inflection point. I think that came down to user interface. It came down to actually empowering the vets even more because it allowed them more flexibility, and we included more services. So we actually expanded the services that we offered within the home, and all those things collectively helped us actually, really tick up. I think another inflection point for the business was COVID. To be honest, when the lockdowns first happened, everyone was sort of a bit worried what was going to happen. And what we saw was that the behavioral change in the market that we were already starting to see, it just accelerated, like it took off. So, when I talk about the behavioral change, it's my pet's sick and I used to call a vet and go down to the local clinic, but now my pet's sick, I'll jump on the app or the website and I'll have a vet come to me. We were already starting to see the market really embrace that. And then when the lockdowns hit and people were forced to look for something different, we just saw that take off. And the retention rate that we have sits at about 15% higher than a bricks and mortar clinic. So with that, those two compounding factors, it just saw the business, grow rapidly, which has been a big part of why we've grown so quickly, just sort of circumstantially. But also, then another inflection point is the way that we actually changed our advertising. We used to really focus on the convenience side of the business, and that was one of the big, like a pillar of our marketing. And what we realized was that people would inconvenience themselves if it meant their pet was getting better treatment, understandably. And so changing the way that we actually, communicated to our clients and actually we do everything that a clinic does. We just do it in home and we save your pet the stress. So we're getting better outcomes for your pet. And that was we saw our sales grow, 30% month on month for about 4 months following that. So some minor sort of things that you wouldn't necessarily think are going to have this massive impact, but they really did.
So really focusing on the emotions of caring for your pet, because a pet is a member of the family, as opposed and having that high level of care rather than, hey, this is more convenient than heading down to the local vet. That's great. That's really
Absolutely,
good.
Yeah.
And so, all right, I'm interested. What's changed in you, having had that 1100% growth over the last couple of years? What's changed in you as a person that's, had to contain that growth, had to manage that growth, and, had to steer it over, such a short period of time?
Yeah, well, the first thing that comes to mind, mate, is being less of a micromanager.
Okay.
When you build something from, when we started, I was the guy that got up at 5 a.m. I'd hang out in dog parks. I would be surveying dog owners and asking them to test out the trial product that we had at the time. So I really grassroots stuff. I built this business from, a simple email between the vet and myself and the client. That's how grassroots I started. And so
Wow.
once we started getting that growth, it was just impossible for me to be across everything, and really having to trust your team. And that, like, I remember the day actually where I've realized that, you got to stop meddling, Morgan, because I'd actually made something, I tried to make a vet's day a bit easier, and I'd ended up making it worse. And the girl that was running admin knew, and I just sort of then after that, I was like, okay, that's your job. Like, I can't be across this. And that was a really sort of, I guess, trusting your team and being able to have to let go, which when it's your baby, it can be really difficult. But I think, like, as you grow the business, you have to grow with it. And one of the things that, like, I've been working on a lot lately is, state management. So I don't think there's a day in the week where there's not something that, like, a fire to be put out. And if you're not managing that within yourself, you can get beaten down really quickly. Even if you're getting all these other wins on the board, it's these, like, sort of small little negatives. That if you're not managing how you react to those and how you cope with them, then they can beat you down pretty quickly.
And as a high performance CEO, what are some things that you do to really, I guess, take control of your state?
Well, I mean, I actually have if you listen to Tony Robbins or you're familiar with him, like a power move, right? So managing, like, my physiology, if I feel that I'm getting down, like, I'll actually stand up, I'll do my power move, I'll say yes.
Nice.
And, if I need to, I'll do it a few times. If people, like, we have at our shared offices, like, little phone booths where they're not soundproof. So if you're yelling in them, people are going to hear, and, people walk past and look at me strange, but that's what I've got to do sometimes. But
absolutely.
That and just taking time for myself, because it's really easy to just always be working, particularly throughout the lockdowns. And this is one of the things that I found the hardest, because you've got nothing else to do outside of work. Like, you can't socialize, you can't go to the gym, you can't travel 5K from your house at times, So making sure that you've got something actually where you, like, consciously disconnect and go, okay, this is for me. I'm going to make myself, like, I'm going to come back to myself, basically, before you can give any more, because, you're like a battery. If you don't recharge, you'll run out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. And what sort of makes you feel inspired and, the best version of yourself?
I mean, this one's probably a bit more personal in that, like, coming home, I've got a 2-year-old, and I come home to him, and I look at him, and what inspires me is that he's not going to have, the challenges that I had when I was growing up. So I had a single mum, raising 2 kids, and that was incredibly challenging for her. And there was times where, like, we had broken floorboards in the middle of, like, central Victorian's winter that just let the cold in, basically. Like, I still remember that. And I look at him, and I'm like, I'm just so grateful that you're not going to have that experience. And that, like, that's what inspires me. Is I look at him in the morning, I have my coffee with him in the morning. He doesn't drink coffee, but
no.
I'm not that irresponsible. But I look at him, and I'm like, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for our family, and that's really what gets me going.
That's so good. Yeah, and that core family value is that's definitely close to my heart as well. Like, it's what motivates me to do a really good job and provide a lot of value to the market is like for my family, for my wife and kids. And so I can totally understand that, that's a really key driver, and I think it is for a lot of entrepreneurs as well. So where do you have the most fun?
I love creating. Like, I was actually listening to a podcast the other day when I interviewed a guy that started a travel website, Kayak, and he just said, it's not the money that drives me, it's that I love doing creative things with creative people. And, I love that. Like, I love seeing something that I'm building just grow and, like, and have my team who are amazing, take ownership of things, and almost it's becoming this like a living being that you never really thought that would sort of become, like in that it's almost like its own, I mean, it is its own entity legally, but like it's, its own entity, and watching other people take ownership of that. And that just, that excites me. And just creating those things, and the development that we do, not just from a tech side, but like our services offering, and seeing it have a real impact on people's lives, like clients contacting us and saying that, they rely on our business, and they've never had a vet experience like it, those sorts of things, that just makes me really, like, it just makes my heart sing.
Yeah, that's so good because you're actually making a difference in people's lives. That's really good.
Yeah.
So, all right, what secrets could you share that gave you the biggest and most dramatic growth for your business? So you've touched on a bit of an adjustment for the advertising so that the message can connect, and that sort of thing. But underlying, like, that's not necessarily the most obvious thing. Like, are there some secrets kind of under the surface there that have really, pressed the go button when it comes to growth?
I think if I was to share a secret, it's probably not that good of a secret, because I'm happy to share it. But when it comes to product development, like, always keep your finger on the pulse. And so we call every single one of our clients. Like, we've got thousands of clients now, and every time they use Vets on Call, they get a follow-up call the following day. How was it? How can we do better? What's going to make it something that's going to tell your friends about? But that's important. But what's really important is to read between the lines of what they say, because clients or customers, their job isn't to develop your product. It's not to design your product for you. You need to be able to read between the lines of what they're saying and say, oh, right, okay, so this is their pain point, or this is what they're telling me that they want. What is the benefit that they're actually trying to get? Or what is the pain point that they're trying to move away from? And how do we then develop the product and the service so that they have that end result? Because, Henry Ford said, like, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. But really what they were saying is, I want to get from A to B faster. And that's why, like, the car, automobile, like, I'm sure he had other ideas as well, but like, that's the sort of product development process that he went through. And so when we're listening to our customer feedback, it's always through the lens of, okay, understand that's your problem, and you're telling me you want a faster horse, but really you're just telling me you want to get to from A to B faster. So how do we then build our product out to be like that? And the biggest inflection points that we've had in the business have come from changing like the user interface and user experience.
Yeah, right.
So another example, like, obviously there was when we launched the newer version of the app, but more recently we changed our website booking process, and overnight we saw a 20% increase in conversion through the website.
That's huge.
And that was just because, we listened to what people were saying, but we read between the lines and changed the way that our product worked based on their feedback.
And that sounds very similar to Jeff Bezos's obsession with the customer experience. It sounds like you're really taking that on board as well and going, okay, great. Well, what are we hearing, and then how can we apply that and make it better, and then as a result create more value and more revenue?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's it. How do you make more value for your end user? And that's exactly how we come at it every single day. Is, this is how we can improve. This is the pain points that they've got. This is what they want. Or even, like, as we start to expand, well, this is what we want to bring in. How's it best going to fit in with the customer experience? So as we expand, like, different services and products, well, how is that best going to fit in, and how are we going to convert people to use us or use those products and services better through the customer experience?
Yeah, phenomenal. That's such a great and proven approach as well. Like, it's built Amazon into a $1 trillion company. So yeah, like, you're on a winner. It sounds great. Last question, Morgan, and just indulge me with this one. Lion or elephant? Which one and why?
Oh,
The-
that's a good question.
just so you know, there is no right or wrong answer.
Look, I'm probably going to go with lion.
Yeah.
Why I would say that is, he's the king of the jungle, and yeah, I think he's fast. He goes after what he wants, makes things happen. I'm thinking probably more the lioness in that instance because I know they're the ones
Yeah.
that actually go and do the hunting and that sort of stuff. But yeah, probably a lion.
Yeah, great, nice. And look, I do know that that was not on any prep sheet anywhere, so that was entirely off the cuff. So thank you,
No
Morgan.
problem.
Who do you best help? Just finally, who can you best help? And if we want to get in touch, how do we reach out?
Yeah, so if you want to reach out, you can reach out to me on my socials. My Instagram's Morgan M. Coleman. Same on LinkedIn. Happy to connect. And if you want to check out Vets on Call, our website's vetsoncall.pet. Who can I help? Look, if anyone that's sort of, I think, aspiring to be in business or starting out in business, absolutely happy to impart any wisdom that I can. And I think, one of the things that does really inspire me is to hopefully be something that other Indigenous Australians look at and go, you know what, he did it, we can do it. And if they're looking to take their first step, then absolutely I want to chat to you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And for our listeners who have pets and who want to actually use your service, what's the best way to do that? Website, app?
You can use our app, which is free to download. It's just Vets on Call in your app store, or you can go to our website, vetsoncall.pet, or you can actually call us 1-800-838-748, and we'll gladly help you out.
Thank you so much. That's thank you, Morgan. It's been phenomenal having you on, and yeah, I really appreciate your value and insight. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. It's been a pleasure.